Hey, Steve Stine from Guitar Zoom. Thanks so much for joining me. Hopefully you watched the first video where we built this construct, if you will, this concept. We talked about meandering. We talked about, connecting positions together, things like that. Well, now what we're going to do is we're going to start implementing the idea of phrasing and of melody. Okay. I'm going to keep it very simple. I go into great detail on all of these things in my guitar course, Fretboard Mastery. Okay. But let me give you some ideas that you can work with. So now we've built this meandering thing. This was our tempo, and we're doing 2 per click. Bump, 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 bump. So we're just meandering aimlessly. And I'm just using the 5th position, if you will, and the 1st position of minor pentatonic. You might just be using 1 position or 3 positions or something like that. So the next step is you start thinking about breaking this meandering into pieces. Okay? So instead of going dun, 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 dun the whole time, you start trying to break it dun, 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 and start giving it some breath. Okay, giving it some rhythmic variety. So now instead of just going, what I do is start trying to add in some. And you'll notice that now all of a sudden it begins to sound a little bit more like a solo, okay? So I'm building my confidence in the boxes or the positions that I'm learning, but I'm also building my strategy of being able to move around inside those boxes. And now I'm exploring the idea of getting a bit more creative with it, okay, by using some phrasing. Now, and again, I go into much more detail into this in the guitar course, but the next step is to start trying to learn to see something over the top, which is melody, right? Trying to see something, whether it's the notes of a chord or a chord shape or something like that. But I start moving into the idea of melody. So let's say my chord that I'm trying to solo over, it's going from E minor to D major. That's my chord progression. So as I'm soloing, I've got this meandering thing going on, and now all of a sudden I've got to start thinking about E minor. So what I do is I try and superimpose a chord shape of E minor over the position that I'm learning, right? So if you knew it somewhere else, maybe you could find something somewhere else, which in the guitar course I go through the cage system and arpeggios and scales and all sorts of different things to teach you how to visualize all of these things overlapping each other. But let's just take one idea. Let's say I was using the E minor bar chord up here at the 12th fret. So I'm visualizing 12, 14, 14, 12, 12, 12. So when that E minor is being played, I'm visualizing those notes. So as I'm meandering and the E minor is being played, I start messing around with my meandering, but now I've cut it in phrases, right? I'm chopping it into little pieces. And then all of a sudden what I do is I start trying to target certain notes, which creates melody. It's pretty cool. And then let's say the D chord comes up. So this thing is being played. So when that E minor, or excuse me, that D chord comes up, then I start visualizing the D chord. So I've got 10, 12, 12, 11, 10, 10. So then I start trying to target something of that chord shape. And I picked this 11. Now, why did I choose that 11? Well, it's part of this chord, okay? This note is actually an F sharp, which we go into the theory and stuff in the course too. So the F sharp is part of the D chord. It's the 3rd of the chord. But I'm targeting that note not only because it's part of the chord, but because it wasn't part of the pentatonic scale. So it sounds super colorful when I go to that note over the D chord. It changes, when you're listening to this thing, it breaks outside of that E minor pentatonic sort of sound. Now, again, it's not just minor, like in the guitar course in fretboard mastery, I don't just do pentatonic. We go through major and minor and mode and all that sort of thing as well to kind of give you a framework to work from. But you can see how wonderful that actually works when you've built an idea, a construct, a box of positions, whatever it is that you want to call it. And you've gotten control of being able to manipulate it through meandering. And then you start getting creative by adding some phrasing and some melody in there to really give it something unique. And it all of a sudden just starts becoming music, which is really, really cool. So what I want you to do is practice that. And when you're feeling good with that, I've got a third video that's going to be coming out. So watch for that. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this whole idea to the next level from there.